Let's get this moot started. And welcome our Moodle CEO, Scott Anderberg, to the stage for a keynote address. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you. Good morning. All right. Okay, so I was one of those people that had my hand up as my first moot, because this is not only my first moot as CEO, it's my first moot ever. So give me a quick wave again one more time. Who else is here for your first moot? I feel in such good company. So good. Thank you so much. I am really pleased to be here. I feel very, very honored to be here. I started with Moodle back in February. It's been a very, very busy 8 months. This morning is a morning that I've been looking forward to almost from the first day that I started. I get to share with you a little bit about what's been happening in the last 8 months, share with you a little bit about me, and mostly talk to you about some of the amazing stories that I've come across in the 8 months since we've been here. Now, we are running just a little bit behind, and these are really important stories. We're probably going to push into the coffee break just a little bit, but we'll make sure that there's still time for refreshments. I want to start this morning, though, by giving you just a little bit on my background and motivation. We're not going to start here, but I think it's important. This is a really important point in time for Moodle. And so I want to make sure you understand a little bit about who I am and why I think this is a great fit for me and why I'm excited about this opportunity. I have spent 25 years in online education as a student, as a teaching assistant, as a product analyst, a sales professional, and a business leader across various regions in the world. I am a dual national. Just recently, actually, you can probably tell that the native accent is not British, but just this year, my family and I became British nationals, so we now hold dual citizenship in the US and the UK. I'm originally from Montana, grew up in the Rocky Mountains, spent about a decade in Colorado, loved the mountains, loved to ski, but have also lived in Australia and the UK, and have spent an awful lot of time across the EMEA region, focused on education initiatives there. Not a lot of time in Asia, and even less time in Latin America, so I am delighted to be here as an opportunity to spend more time here, learn more about this part of the world and this wonderful country. During that time traveling in EMEA, I got to spend a lot of time in parts of that world that were very economically depressed, were struggling with connectivity, struggling with resources. And it has motivated the rest of my career because I could see so fundamentally how access to high quality education changed the entire landscape for both individuals and societies. And that has motivated me for what I do. It's motivated me to continue to find new ways to drive access to education, and that is why I was so excited to have this opportunity to join Moodle. There are few organizations in the world that have done more to make education accessible at such a scale, and so this aligns with my vision. It aligns with what Moodle wants to continue to do, with the impact that it has already had and the impact that we long to have in the future. And that's true all the way down to the tightest community I live in. A lot of people have been asking me, what have you been doing over the last 8 months or so? So I want to give you a little bit of insight there. The first one is spending most of my days looking like this. It has been a torrent of information. The Moodle ecosystem is both delightful but incredibly complex, and there is a lot to learn about that. I come in with a lot of understanding of the higher education landscape globally, but Moodle is something very unique in and of itself. I'm also meeting a lot of people. I have spent a lot of time doing this, not so much from the stage, and fortunately I won't spend my entire week here. I'll get to be down on the floor meeting all of you, but just getting to know the people that are in our community, in the institutions that use the product that we put out there, and understanding better how they're using it and what they're doing with it. And lastly, spending a lot of time thinking about the journey ahead. As I said, this represents a really important point in time for Moodle. The impact and legacy of the last 25 years, as everyone here knows, even better than I do, really come down to all the hard work that Martin started 25 years ago. And as Martin begins to shift his time and attention to really thinking very specifically about research and development for Moodle moving forward, and I have the privilege of stepping into the leadership position here, we're really thinking about what this transition means not only for the leadership in the organization, but for the entire organization and community as well. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time today talking to you about strategy. I'm not going to spend time talking to you about growth objectives. I'm not going to spend a lot of time, any time in fact, talking about market segmentation. What I want to talk to you about today is the vision that we have for the future. And more importantly, I want to talk to you about the stories that we've come across that are fundamentally the foundation for believing in that vision. Here are some specific things, though, that I've learned so far. The first is that this is a community of wonderful, hospitable people. It is not hard to step up on a stage like this because I know I've got friendly faces in the audience. I've learned that Moodle has an unbelievably exceptional amount of loyalty. I mean, the kind of excitement around the Moot is because of the loyalty that has been established for Moodle. And again, I just feel so privileged to get to be a part of that. Because of that, it has reached a scale and a level of reach that few companies, much less ed tech companies, ever get to enjoy. I firmly believe we have every reason to believe that Moodle is a fixture in the e-learning ecosystem for the next 100 years. And that is an incredibly difficult horizon to imagine, but we've set our sights on imagining what that might look like. I've also learned that as an open source platform, Moodle is an incredibly powerful product with unmatched potential for creativity, flexibility, customization, but that doesn't mean it's perfect. The market's grown increasingly competitive. We recognize we need to respond to that. We recognize that in the midst of that competition, you are always thinking about what's the best way to bring tools to your learners. And as a result, we need to make sure that we are responding by improving our institutional engagement and accelerating the innovation in product and delivery that we see in the platform. Lastly, and probably most importantly, I know I still have a lot to learn. But the most important place for me to learn that is from all of you. And that takes us right back up to the item at the top, which is this wonderful, open, hospitable community. You've been so generous with the things that you've helped me to learn, and I'm really looking forward to continuing to do that. So a little bit about what we think is happening in the future and our vision for that. Pace of change over the next 100 years will eclipse the change that humanity has seen in the last 1,000. 100 years is probably too generous. A lot of people are saying the pace of change in the next 10 years. Some people are saying the pace of change in the next 2 years will eclipse that. And for a long time, science fiction has been giving us a number of different visions of what that future might look like. And some of them are dark, dystopian visions. So bonus points for being able to name the movie. Here are a few of those dystopian. Come on. Good, good, good. Matrix, very good. It's the human farm in the Matrix. I heard it, I think. Who said it? Ultron, Age of Ultron. These are futures where humanity is suppressed, is on the verge of extinction in many cases as a result of this technological advancement. But there are alternatives to this. Do I know this? Wakanda, home of the Black Panther. I know, 2 Marvel movies in a row. I've lived with teenage boys for most of the last decade. Wakanda is not perfect, but Wakanda is an archetype for what it might look like to live in a civilization with advancing technology that is there for the benefit of the entire society. And I know also if you track the stories, things didn't work out perfectly for Wakanda, but it's still a great archetype. We believe more in that kind of future than in the Terminator kind. We believe in accessible education. For our part, we've seen a world full of opportunity. The last 25 years, we've been focused very, very hard on making education-enabling tools as widely available as possible, and we've done that by very intentionally removing barriers to access and affordability. And so I think it's really important as we think about the future that we also talk about some of the things that will definitely remain. Certainly we're going to see some things that are changing inside the organization and the environment, but a few things are really important that will remain. First, we are fully committed to continuing to have a freely available, fully open source, enterprise-capable LMS for the future of Moodle. That is something we're not moving away from. And secondly, as we think about what the continued distribution of Moodle product offering looks like, we will continue to rely on a rich and diverse partner network that can help us stretch across the globe to do that. So thank you to all of our partners today. So, we believe in opportunity. This reads a little bit like a manifesto, and I'm going to make sure that I say every word because these are really important. As we look ahead, we see a world in which we continue to build on the work that we've already done, and where learners everywhere reap the benefits. We envision a world where technology is an asset that enables equity, well-being, and fulfillment. We will strive to be part of that future by continuing to deliver technology and innovation to any organization that has a mandate for helping people learn. We want to help create a world where education is universally accessible. We want to contribute to the skills development that lifts entire societies out of poverty. And we want to evolve the pursuit of education such that the role of teacher and student can move fluidly between those actors as they work together in continuing to learn. We think that's a hopeful future. There are a lot of reasons to think that the future is maybe not so hopeful. But the thing about hope is you have to choose it. And that's what we're choosing. We have always believed that learning is truly a right and not a privilege. It's in a written manifesto on the website. We believe this fundamentally. And we believe in a world where everyone has the opportunity to unlock their full potential. We believe in a future that is more possible than ever, and we want to actively usher that future into the present. That is something we want to be a part of, and we want to invite all of you to be a part of that with us. So, it's important that we take a minute. I promised that I wouldn't talk about strategy and commercial things, but it's really, really important at this point in time that we talk a little bit about the three pillars we're going to use to sort of measure this activity as we move forward. The first of those things is our people. And our people are every one of you. It starts with those team members who are building and developing Moodle, who are working hard on the services and support that we offer to our users, but then it just flows out from there in concentric circles so that it includes all of the humans we interact with. The second is something that has not been talked a lot about at Moodle. There are good reasons for that, but it's really important to me we talk about it now, and that is we're going to think about the profit that we're generating at Moodle. Not because profit in its own right is important, but because what we are doing is so important, it has to be sustainable. We have to begin to think about the surplus that's generated that gets redeveloped and redeployed into the business over and over. This is something that becomes really important. We want the last 25 years to extend into the next 25 and the next 50 and the next 100. And so we're going to be thinking really carefully about how we continue to maintain the values and the ethos of this organization while building a sustainable structure for the business moving forward. Because our impact is so important. This is what guides us. This is what pushes us forward. This is what we are proud of. This is really what defines what we do and who we are. It's our legacy. Legacy is something that typically you think about as what you leave behind, and it is that. But legacy is also what happens every day when you look over your shoulder. And we want to make sure that every day when we wake up in the morning and look over our shoulder, we are really proud of what we did and that we built something to last and built something that really matters for the future. This is what's been built so far. In 25 years, we have reached over 400 million users, 156,000 sites, delivering courses in more than 40 languages, and this only reflects registered sites and users. We think this is probably about a third of what's actually out there. We can do some proxy work to figure out how many users there are, but we believe there are probably close to 1 billion people in the world that have been educated via Moodle at some point in their lifetime today. 1 billion people. That is an exciting thing to be a part of. But this is only one way to tell a story about impact, and it's probably the least interesting. The more important stories about impact are the stories that are actually the human stories, the things that happened in the lives of people. And so what I'm going to do for the next 20 minutes or so is share with you some really important stories, some examples of how Moodle is really changing the world. The first one we're going to talk about is Banrural in Guatemala. This is a story that comes to us from our partner in Guatemala, Corporate Learning. Thank you so much to Carolina Barrera. If you could give a wave, Carolina. Carolina helped me put this information together. If you have other questions about this afterwards, go find Carolina. Guatemala is interesting. As of 2022, about 13.9% of Guatemalans globally live outside of Guatemala. Many of them residing in the United States, in states like California and New York, focused on improving their economic situation so that they can send remittance back to their families in Guatemala. But that is not a straightforward process. It's not easy to do. About 4 years ago, I think if I recall right from Carolina, Banrural, which is a large bank in Guatemala, decided as part of its social responsibility program, it would put together a training program so that it could help educate Guatemalans abroad on financial education and literacy to ensure that that process of taking the improvement that they're experiencing in their lives in places abroad could really benefit the families and loved ones that they have back in Guatemala. Working with Corporate Learning, Banrural has created a platform on Moodle that provides them the tools to plan for their financial future, making it easy to prepare them for a stable economic return to Guatemala or seamless transfer of those funds to help improve their families' lives. It's going to be carried out in a scalable way. Right now, the platform has only just launched in October, but is already serving, October of this year, is already serving over 500 students and has a goal to serve 1 million students over the next 2 years. It's a huge number of Guatemalans abroad that will be able to change the landscape back in Guatemala, either through their return or by the money that they can send back. So a very, very exciting project from Corporate Learning in Banrural. Thank you, Carolina. All right, for this next story, I'm going to ask for a little help. I'm really, really lucky. We have another partner, EduPan, who's provided the next one, and EduPan CEO Ernesto Leon is going to come up and share this story with us.
Morning. Thank you. So let me tell you a story about Panama and this project. So like most of these great transformations, unfortunately, came with the pandemic. And like many of our educational systems in the region and in the world, we were not prepared for that, right? So in Panama, particularly, we lack of the infrastructure, lack of the teachers' training to tackle this crisis. So at that moment, the Ministry of Education was looking for some help, right? A lot of new educational gurus appeared. And most of them were trying to sell LMS and content and pre-created platforms. So at that time, we talked to the Minister of Education and asked a few questions, right? The first one is, how many licenses are you going to purchase of these LMSs if you don't know actually how many kids or children or students will be able to connect, right? And that was the trigger question. And in that moment, we proposed using an open source LMS and create a national content factory. And we created this project called Esther, which is a resilient digital education transformation strategy. And the success key factor of this was giving this project as a strong identity. And we use the teachers, the system teachers, to create the content that they were going to use, very, very aligned with the curricula. Because our teachers, in the region, they usually don't want, external content which is not aligned to their curriculum and to their classes and to the strategy they want to implement in the classroom. So we use this. We communicate effectively the process of the creation, and we create a base using Moodle LMS of a strong infrastructure to create other tools like a digital library, like a digital gradebook, like a digital teachers evaluation system, and digital teachers training enrollment platform. So we create an ecosystem around Moodle, and nowadays is the official platform, educational platform of the Ministry of Education. So at that time, that was the factory, La Fábrica, right? So we use the teachers from the system. We use specialists to evaluate the content they were providing in different subjects like chemistry, physics, math, science, Spanish, and English, and other subjects. We use our specialists at EduPan, the technical pedagogists that transform all that content into digital objects or virtual learning objects. We review that, and then we deliver that to the students. That was happening 24 hours a day during the pandemic, delivering this very rich content to our students. And at that time, we benefit more than 200,000 students. And in that year, during the pandemic, we were able to graduate a lot of our students that were using the Moodle platform. The success of the Ministry of Education was so evident that the government asked us to create another platform. This platform is for INADE, which is the entity in Panama that gives vocational training to students. Because Panama was giving an monthly aid of around $100 to the citizens that were not working. And so the president asked that every citizen that wanted to have that benefit, they have to make a course or e-learning course. So in 1 month, after the creation of that platform using Moodle, we impact around 400,000 citizens. So it was the largest Moodle in the region, and very stable. And now, thanks of that work, we learn, and we continue helping the public sector, and we learned that to make a project like this, you don't only have to talk about technology. You need to understand the system, the people, the impact, share and communicate the impact, the human impact. And without the culture, Moodle's culture, the open source adaptability and cost efficiency, we never would be able to do a project like this. Nowadays, Moodle has the largest market share in Panama public sector. Almost every institution using an LMS is Moodle-based. And in Panama, Moodle is a recognized brand which is respected and loved. Thank you.
Thank you, Ernesto. Very inspiring stories. I've got two more. The next one hails from South Australia and is called the Inventorium. This is a very, very cool project. It will not come to not be a surprise to any of you that there's a bit of a high school crisis in high school education. ACARA, which is the Australian Curriculum Assessment Reporting Agency, showed that across Australia in 2023, 25.1% of boys and 17.3% of girls drop out of high school. In South Australia alone, 25 to 40% of students that started in year 8 didn't complete year 12 as of 2017. Is not restricted to Australia. In the US, National Center for Educational Statistics recorded 2.1 million high school dropouts in 2022. In the UK, in 2020, the OECD estimated that the UK secondary school non-completion rate was 37.5%. Young people are not getting to the objective they have or that we have for them for education. These students that drop out will struggle over their lifetime to reach economic sustainability. So meet Eddie Brass. Eddie can't be here today, unfortunately, but I spent quite a lot of time with Eddie in the last few months learning about this project. She came across these statistics, particularly in Australia. She's based in Adelaide, South Australia, and really wanted to create a new curriculum, model. What she's done is heavily focused on educational research and an implementation of an entirely student-focused, student-led, student-supported approach to getting students through their education. She has focused her efforts specifically on those dropouts in Australia, really as a proof of concept. So keep in mind, everything that you see here are about students who would otherwise not be engaged in the education system at all. What they're really trying to do is take a school system, the current system today, which was built in the 19th century, may be applicable for the 20th century, attempting to educate students for the 21st century, and say, no, that's not going to work. We're going to do something that's really actually going to work for the 21st century. So what is the Inventorium? The purpose of the Inventorium is to provide high school education, and it's primarily online, to students who aren't suited to the mainstream system. And it's been designed as a truly bespoke, student-centered, student-led journey. All classes are interdisciplinary, so you don't take math and then science and then English and then whatever else. These things are woven together through the students' choices. This one's amazing to me. Assessments are written with the student, not with the student in mind. Assessments are written with the student to build their motivation to complete them. The platform is lightly gamified, makes it fun and engaging for students as they move through it. All students are assigned a single teacher, so you have one teacher you're working with across every single subject offering that you work in. Really improves student agency. You'll see that come up here again in a minute. And the Inventorium was designed based on the research that they did to address 3 primary problems that are affecting or causing those dropout rates in high school education. The first one is pace. So many students really struggle that there is a defined pace in which they have to move through the content and they either fall behind or they get bored. The Inventorium is designed to change that because the student chooses the pace at which they move. The second is the content itself, oftentimes not engaging, highly irrelevant, maybe just in the wrong order to keep students engaged. And the third is the teacher. Students need to feel some connection to the teacher. The current model in education actually creates an enormous amount of distance between most students and their teachers. Just out of curiosity, how many teachers do we have in the room today? Wave your hands. Cool. Three things that they're very interested in terms of the pedagogy and philosophy. The first is student agency. The student has to feel a sense of control in the way that they're putting their program together and the way that they're engaging with the material. The second is socio-emotional development. It's not just engaging or absorbing material. It's actually recognizing that that person, that student, is an individual and has to interact with that in an individual way. And the last is assessment for learning. I already said this. I think this is incredible. Assessments are built with the student so that they are progressing towards something that really matters to them. The model then means that it's student-centered first. The whole platform is organized around the student, so they drive everything that happens. As they come in, they're onboarded, they're allocated to that teacher who becomes much more of a learning coach or guide as they move through the process. They select the content areas. They select the order, they select the one they focus on, they leave stuff out. She said that a lot of people really have criticized and said there's no way students can do this. They won't have the appropriate scaffolding to learn the things they're choosing. And she said when they find out they need to know something in order to understand the thing they want to know, they just go learn it. Assessments are negotiated. Work is submitted and saved in a portfolio, and as that comes in, the teacher or the moderator is notified. They go pick up the work, they assess it, they work with the student. If it is not yet up to a place where it meets the standard necessary, they go back and do it. But that work is turned in when the student believes it has achieved the level of mastery that they think is required. And then they get to talk with the teacher about what may be missing, what needs to happen. It's an amazing model. The question it begs is, how are you going to do this? What does that really mean for the LMS? Now, I want you to look at this picture a minute. This is a piece of concept art, obviously. But what I'm going to show you in the next screen is what Moodle looks like to accommodate this. This is what the student sees when they log into Moodle. So this is the very first thing they see. The Classes that they have sit across the bottom. Their learning journey is mapped across the top. You'll see that little sort of alien-looking individual. The first thing they do when they come in is they modify that little alien to look the way they want. They select the classes out of the categories below, and then a curriculum map gets created to move them through that content to their desired outcome. When they want to go check their progress, this is what it looks like. This is the power of a fully flexible, fully customizable, open source solution to accommodate the needs of learners. I think this is so cool. It's small scale still, but it's a huge success. There's only about 800 students in the program. It's been a proof of concept, but it has proven highly, highly successful. In a recent survey of their students, 63% of respondents felt the Inventorium helped them think about their future in terms of who they wanted to be and also in terms of what they wanted to do. 60% felt more confident about their future. 66% felt their mental health and well-being was better. This is interesting to me because a very large percentage of the students that come into this program at the onboarding stage report bullying as a key reason for dropping out, either by students or by teachers. So these are students who have disengaged, many of them, because actually their well-being was at risk in the current system. 67% were confident that they were employable, and 66% felt ready to join the workforce. That compared to an ATAR survey in Australia that showed in the mainstream system 19% felt confident about their future. This is a program that is working. It's very cool. And maybe most importantly, if you think all the way back to that first slide that I showed about the dropout rates globally, 95% of students engage and continue with the learning process until they reach their desired outcome. I wish Eddie was here because she deserves a huge round of applause for this. She's really ambitious about what's next. They're building for AI. They are integrating app certification, adding additional content options, looking for partnerships with employers so those students who come out so excited about the workforce have places to go. And she's also recognizing that there are a whole lot of students beyond students that are dropping out with profile that could be served through this model. Neurodiversity, safety issues, geographical and rural remoteness, other populations where this would work. So there's a great opportunity that we may get to see this scale over the next few years. But one of the things that came out in this that is the most exciting and interesting to me is that in all of this, teachers are still the most important thing. Student satisfaction is high. 94% of students would recommend the Inventorium to other students, but of those students, 44% said the teacher is the best thing about the program. And their findings on this said, I'm going to read this directly because I think it's an amazing quote. Regardless of the education system, the adoption of online curriculum and technology, even the advent of AI, nothing can replace the teacher in the learning process. Any attempt to do so would be short-sighted. And that leads me to my last part of the presentation this morning. We've got about 7 minutes left. Hang in there with me because I think this is incredible. We've done some work recently with teachers around the world, specifically in economically depressed areas, trying to understand how they use Moodle and what that means for them. And what I want to do to finish this off today is let them tell you a little bit about their stories. These are our teachers. You can see we have them: Venezuela, Brazil, Buenos Aires, the Philippines, Papua New Guinea, and Cape Town. And so here in their stories are some of the things that Moodle means to them.
It's wonderful, sweetie. Everything about Moodle is wonderful. Start again. We calm down. Moodle is wonderful. Did you hear me? Moodle is wonderful.
I love using Moodle. I'm very passionate about it. And I try to use it outside as well, not just in academic institutions, but outside on the street with people who can't get into universities, people like SMEs, farmers, unemployed youth.
It really helps me because it makes my work faster. One thing I really like, I can recycle my courses. So I can use the import function. Okay. So I just search for my course from previous semesters and I just see which parts I will import. So I don't have to import all of the course.
Trabajo de nosotros con Moodle y es muy interesante. Me gusta mucho que cuando el alumno se mete a hacer un ejercicio, por un ejemplo, y ya inmediato sale la corrección. Entonces ese es súper importante, pues es un medidor para nosotros. Ese es muy importante para nosotros, pero nos facilitó un montón.
At my university, out of the thousands of teachers here, I am certainly the one who uses Moodle the most, right? Every day. So this makes me very, very comfortable with Moodle.
As a teacher, to monitor what is happening with your students is very important. So for me, that's important. It's almost more important than having an essay or assignment. I know that marking and grading is quite important with some teachers when they use Moodle. For me, the summary in activity completion is most important.
It's very intuitive. Like I learn it by myself and I use it a lot and a lot of tools that Moodle have. And it was easy to learn.
I'm very passionate about helping people and serving people in education. I feel like this is what my calling is. This is what God has asked me to do. So I come out and I try to help people outside in the rural area because more than 80% of our population are in the rural areas. They come in for face-to-face if they can. Like if they don't understand something, but most of them are very busy. Like they need to make a living. They need to sell their crops like potatoes or broccoli or whatever they're selling. So they need to go back. So when they do go back, they're all using phones. They don't really have laptops. And it's possible to do that with Moodle.
The students in the Philippines are open to new ideas. So they ask questions. So that's what I like now, having to interact with them and learning things from them. So not just about the lesson, but also about their personal lives.
Brazilians like to communicate a lot, right? Not for specific reasons, not for specific to be in a meeting. No, they like to just express themselves. And I think this is true also in the classroom. Imagine that it would be very interesting for my colleagues and me to be able to see at a glance which students are engaged, which students are completely left behind. Moodle has a very well-developed system for that. It is the progress tracking system.
I think it's more challenger because in Argentina, we think we all know about everything and we can say and we can agree or disagree about everything. So we have a lot of discussions in our courses or in our classes.
Lo que me gusta acá en Colombia es que la gente es muy comprometida y lo que me da mucha alegría en este trabajo, mucho que me emociona es por eso, porque la gente quiere hacer algo diferente, cambiar sus vidas, cambiar sus estatus y todo eso, es importante.
I won't cry. I took a student home by car one day. I was teaching her via Moodle. It was an online university. The walls of our home were black plastic. There were pieces of wood to hold up the roof at the corners of the property, the corners of the house. The poverty was extreme. but she had a laptop and she had connectivity via her mobile phone. How she afforded it, I do not know, but she had this laptop and she was determined to raise herself out of poverty.
We have technical problems, internet connection problems, building problems, but the people there that want to learn, they have a nice experience, and the most important thing is the teacher and the person there.
Because our country is so culturally diverse, I love using Moodle because we can document a lot of our languages are dying out. It would be good to, keep records of what we do with our students in class. So we keep the records on the system. And then when students come in the following year, we show it to them. And we keep those for our records, and it helps us to build our repositories online.
Wow, man, you have no idea how satisfying it is to be able to bring new knowledge to students in ways that I think will enhance their lives. It's very important. It will get them out of that poverty.
I've watched it like 20 times and it's still like every time. Teachers matter. Can I get those of you who waved your hands briefly earlier to just stand up for me just a minute? If you waved your hand, if you're a teacher, will you stand up just for a minute? Yeah. If Moodle has an impact, it's because of you. Because that connection to the student, that relationship that you create, is what allows that to happen. Moodle is committed to empowering educators, and you are the people that we are focused on. Those students are the people that we are focused on. We are here to celebrate that this week, to hear more stories. Thank you so much for everything you do. We have a few really good days ahead of us. And thanks for the opportunity to get to know you a little bit better.
Scott, I'm going to demand that you buy me a drink later because it's only 10 o'clock in the morning and you made me cry.
We had possibly set some time for questions. Do we have time for questions since we've run a bit behind?
We absolutely do. But we're going to need people to use the microphone. So I'm going to mingle a little bit with a microphone. Questions? Raise your hand.
Happy to take any questions. We'll spend 5 or 10 minutes if we have them, and then we'll get off to our coffee break. But if people have questions, anything is game. Got one right back here.
Yeah, I'm just slow. Okay, all right, let's do it. Okay, here we go.
Hello, everyone. Marius from Warwick, United Kingdom. Wanted to ask a little bit about the future and the synergy perhaps with Totara, or let's say the kind of other forks of Moodle, and how do you see that kind of going forward, let's say in the next 10, 15, 20 years?
What, 15, 20 years? Forks, sorry. I need to let you know that one of the other things about me that I didn't reference is I've got very poor hearing. I've only got one good ear, so if I don't understand the question, it's not you, it's me. So I have to admit that I am, and happy and openly admit, I'm relatively new to the world of open source. I hope you can see that I've gotten very excited about what it brings. I am very excited about what it means in terms of the educational landscape, but there's still a lot that I'm learning in this regard. So I'll give you my thoughts on it based on what I know today, and then you'll have every opportunity for the next 3 days to come argue with me and re-educate me to tell me that this doesn't make any sense. I mean, I think forks are a natural occurrence in the world of open source. I think, we're seeing situations in other parts of the open source community where that's happening as well. I think it's inevitable that it will take place. For my part, I believe the thing that we can do the very best to continue to keep focus on Moodle and avoid those forks is to be heavily focused on the needs of our users. What is it that students need? What is it that instructors need? What is it that administrators need? And what is it that has to be presented to a decision maker at an institution to get there? I mean, the reason forks happen is because whatever the solution is that they have doesn't provide them what they need. The challenge is that the scale on this is huge. We've already talked about how significant it is, and so making everyone happy with what you have all the time is really difficult. Again, that's where something like our partner network comes in that's so important. Our hope is that we're able to help support that partner network, so when those needs arise, there's always someone available that can help take Moodle and create what it is that's needed without a formal fork happening, because that ultimately reduces the focus on the overall community and the project remains the underlying important part of what we're doing.
Great. Who else? Question? Okay.
Cyril. I would never have guessed.
Hi, I'm Cyril. I'm working with a French partner, Edunao. Some of you know me because I like to talk in those meetings. Anyways, we're going to meet probably somewhere in the world in a year from now, possibly in a more accessible place than here to many. My question is, in a year from now, we're going to meet. It's going to be your second MoodleMoot.
Yeah.
What are the good news you're looking forward to announcing in a year from now?
Ooh, great question. I am looking forward very much to having had the opportunity to meet more of the individuals within the institutions that are using Moodle. So a lot of my time has been focused in the last 8 months on meeting with people like you and your colleagues in other partnerships, meeting with our teams around the world. And I have had the opportunity to do some of those connections with institutions, particularly in the higher ed space, and that's primarily because my background is, for the most part, focused in higher ed. But we have a huge number of users out there in the school space or the business space or the government arena, and I've barely scratched the surface in being able to talk to them. So the opportunity to make relationships there is one of the things I'm the most excited about. I'm also really excited a year from now and hopefully being able to look back and say there were a lot of things that we've heard over the course of the last year, and look, here's how we've addressed them. We want to be able to measure the success that we have moving forward on the way that we're able to respond to the critical needs that are in the community. And then I want to be able to look at Moodle as an organization, the Moodle HQ business, and hopefully be able to say it has never, ever been in a healthier, more vibrant position and more committed and aligned to the cause that we have to make the impact that we foresee in the future.
I think we have time for one more.
One more.
Hi, I'm Bruno Polivert from University of Montreal. As you stand for a resolute human-centered Moodle development, and as we had the AI literacy framework just released by UNESCO, what is your stance on AI use in education Moodle?
Great question. Hopefully most of you know Moodle just released Moodle 4.5. With Moodle 4.5 came our AI subsystem. So formally there is now the opportunity to build on that subsystem. We have very intentionally taken the approach that the first thing we were going to do was put a subsystem in place that allows all of you to decide how AI gets used in your course. One of the great complexities with AI is the level of choice or the level of restriction or constraints that exist from one part of the world to another. As a result, we wanted to focus first and foremost on putting those decisions back in the hands of our users and institutions, rather than choosing some very specific functionality that may or may not serve the needs that you have. So this creates the foundation to begin to take what is an emerging area of extremely powerful technology and do with it what you want. I mean, hopefully, maybe, Cyril, in a year I get to talk about another set of case studies focused entirely on AI that are as creative as the one we looked at for the Inventorium. That would be incredible. We're already seeing other organizations begin to build on top of that and do things, and so that's really exciting for us. And then I would finish off by saying, if you really want to hear more about some of the thinking and research that's going on, come back for Martin's keynote, where that's going to be all about what he's been looking at, and there'll be a lot more information on that. All right.
Yes.
Thank you so much. We are very, very, very excited about the next few days. Thank you so much to our good colleagues from Wadi for coming. We really appreciate having you here, and all of you as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, Scott. Scott, give it up for Scott.